Speaking of stuff that's popping off, it seems like it's popping off every time we blink our eyes. Things are moving very quickly in the process to clean up the CNMI. Another arrest early in the morning. Glen Hunter he's just been our go-to guy on this sordid tale that has been that had the potential. Well, the fall of the governor and a number of people within the government structure of the CNMI. They're dropping like dominoes, and the deputy DPS commander yesterday was the latest in a line. Hey, Glenn, good morning.
Good morning, Patti.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
I would say top of the morning to you, but I know it's already Monday over there for you.
This is true, yeah.
You don't have any Irish blood in you by any chance, do you?
Probably somewhere back in there. I'm
back in the day?
So
okay.
You never know.
Okay, well, I hope you have your radio because I'll be doing a tutorial on how to make green beer.
There we go.
With dye and without dye. Yeah, okay. Anyway, a big deal happened over the weekend. Yesterday, another, in the cloud, out of public view, another takedown, a dramatic arrest of the DPS deputy, right? Deputy Commissioner?
Yes, he returned to Island yesterday. It was actually pretty much planned this time. Mm-hmm. So he was scheduled to return on St. Patrick's Day on the 17th, and all the coordinating efforts on law enforcement side over here was ready and expecting him.
Well, Ambrosio Ogumuro is who we're talking about, and everybody knew that he had to eventually come back because he was on government business when he went to Canada.
That's what they said, yes.
Yeah, okay. That's what they said, but I'm not buying it, no. It was enough because there were reporters that were out there assembled, so everybody knew that this arrest was, not arrest, but he was served a termination letter. He was not taken into custody.
Well, no, there were a couple things that happened yesterday. Well, one was when he got off the plane, he was met by the TRET team. It's the tactical, failed me the whole acronym, but it's a tactical response team.
Okay.
Met him at the gate when he arrived and took him into a room and served him. Initially, I believe it was at a termination for his position, and then they served him a penal summons right after that. And the penal summons was issued with the arrest warrant being held in abeyance pending his showing up in court today for a first appearance. And he did make that appearance this morning in front of Judge Wiseman. Mm-hmm. And they set the arraignment for him. I believe it's called the arraignment on, I want to say April 22nd, a Monday in April.
Okay. So
basically, they set the time, the date for the arraignment at the same time as the next appearance for a couple of the other officers that were arrested about a week ago.
Okay. I thought that he was supposed to show up in court sometime today. No, right?
Yes, he did. Ogumura showed up himself this morning at 9:30 in front of Wiseman and with his counsel, Kushney,
mm-hmm.
a lawyer, Kushney, and they and they went ahead and appeared in front of. They set bail at, I want to say it was $10,000. He could post 10% of that and unsecured on the difference. They asked him to turn over his travel document, so his passport has to be relinquished before 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And DPS had made a request that all his DPS-owned equipment be turned in before 10 a.m. tomorrow as well.
Ogumuro, had he made a claim that he got a directive straight from former Governor Fitial to provide this protection to Buckingham specifically to shield him from receiving that warrant or that summons?
There has been talk that some of the officers have stated that exactly. I guess most of it will come out as the trials progress, as the criminal charges are moved forward and witnesses come forward. 3 of the officers that were earlier arrested, chief law enforcement officers, the Kosem, Ruinog, and Nakaifas showed up this morning for arraignment in front of Judge Naraha. Actually, only one of them showed up. The other 2 were the OPA, the prosecutor in the case, the special AG, Assistant Attorney General, asked for a delay for 2 of them. So one can assume that perhaps the other two, Rubenog and COSEM, are cooperating and perhaps providing a little bit more information. Everybody on island is pretty mindful of the fact that the orders must have come from somewhere higher. The phone records allude to that, and from what we've heard, some witnesses, we don't know which ones they are, have testified to that fact or have made those statements.
It just seems like the bits and pieces of this story that everyone had been speaking about in that period in August of last year are coming out entirely true to the word that was being passed around that time when Buckingham left. It must be kind of an exciting revelation to all of you who did know what you knew back at the time, to see it all come out as quickly as it has come, and you're expecting what now? I mean, everything that you suspected was happening back in August, what is left to uncover that you guys are still thinking has to be blown up?
Well, the last piece for at least this incident is what you alluded to earlier when you asked if the orders came from a higher, from the governor, basically. And he is still off island from what we understand, but there is a penal summons awaiting him as well.
Is he viewed as having fled Saipan? I mean, he was clearly free to go, and probably took the opportunity before it would have been easy to serve him a penal summons, and then stop him from leaving.
You know, the things that happened when he resigned were kind of interesting. It happened all in a flash. On February 20th, he went and met with the lieutenant governor, told him he was going to resign that morning. Later that afternoon, they had the lieutenant governor sworn in almost immediately after his resignation, the former governor's resignation. And in the early mornings of the following day, he hopped a flight and left.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of stole away in the dead of night, is what it sounds like.
I don't know if you could technically call it fleeing, because
okay, but he got out of there.
He
got out of there.
Yeah, it was a quick departure, to say the least,
right.
And an unexpected one for everyone that's been questioned in the matter, including I can only assume that the officers that were involved, the ones that are pretty much taking the grunt of the fall right now, probably were unaware of his the thoughts on resigning and fleeing the Commonwealth in such haste. So everybody in the CNMI is basically, in regards to this one incident, waiting for the governor to return so that the penal summons can be served, and that justice in this one case can move forward.
No one's thinking that he's not going to come back. I mean, he didn't escape, and he's not trying to outrun the law. He clearly is easy to find because the summons was served upon him, right?
No, he hasn't been served a summons yet.
Oh, he hasn't been served.
It's been issued by the court. It was initially, from what we heard, it was an arrest warrant that was switched over to a penal summons, just as Ambrosio's was an arrest warrant switched over to his penal summons. And so it's still waiting on his return. We have confirmed sources that have him placed in the Philippines right now. Oh,
I thought he was in Saipan. We've been reporting that he was in Saipan because he has a house. I mean, San Diego.
Well, he has a house there. He had told people that he would be in California, but we have confirmed witness, like people have contacted me who have personally spoken to him in the Philippines at St. Luke's.
So he's in the he's at St. Luke's Hospital. I mean, well, there were some issues.
His wife is undergoing some stuff. That's what
there were some issues.
Or that's what's rumored.
I see.
Is that he's there in the Philippines now and has been for that was last check. The last word I heard was Friday. And
well,
so I assume he's still there.
That's not a big departure from anything that he had been saying in his resignation letter. He said just that his wife needs to undergo some serious medical attention, and he also has a medical condition as well that needs to be tended to. So him leaving, quickly suggests to me that it was, medical attention that he said that he was going to need to get right away, right? Is that what it says to you?
He basically did say in his resignation it was health concerns and the betterment of the CNMI or issues with the CNMI. But he has had and suffered from health conditions himself throughout his 2 terms, basically. He's always had back issues and other health concerns.
Well, we know he had back issues.
Off island for medical reasons. And most recently he was off island in December for medical reasons, so it wouldn't be anything new or out of the ordinary for him to leave the island for health reasons. Right. What was kind of a shock was that he resigned for that reason. And so that would be the thing. And then he did, before he departed, he did go on one of the local radio stations out here, another quick impromptu stop after his resignation, and probably the only public comments he made after his resignation were to defend his, basically say he was innocent and that none of the 18 articles of impeachment were true.
Right.
So he was sticking to his story right before he jumped on the plane and left.
Okay.
Now, as far as whether or not he will come back, we know he supposedly has properties and holdings in the Philippines as well as in California, perhaps other areas as well. So some people...
I mean, you're not going to make... Are you going to, guys... Is Saipan government prepared, Governor Enos prepared to take all the steps necessary to make sure this summons is delivered to him?
You know, I'm not sure what the procedure would be. Normally, I believe they have to be in the CNMI when they're served the summons. I don't know if it's ever done outside of our jurisdiction. So I think it would have to wait until he comes back. There might be some way they could try him in absentia, or perhaps just move forward.
Well, they could send... If
he never comes back.
They could send the FBI OJ the agent that hurdled all of those challenges to get to him at the airport that one time.
Oh my! Yeah. that would be interesting. I don't know. You know, the truth is, Patti, I'm still wondering why. Aside from the local FBI agents that did, do just an awesome job getting that summons to Buckingham when local authorities were all suppressed. There's still, to my knowledge, I don't know if there's been any type of federal involvement from our federal prosecutors out here or from Limpiaco out there, our U.S. attorney for the region. And so those are something like those 18 charges that were held against him, many of them including probably at some point because it was a use of high law enforcement officers. It could be labeled RICO perhaps because there were conspiracies involved in breaking the law. There's a chance that hopefully, and a lot of people are holding their breath to just find out if the federal government, does want to move forward with looking into or investigating or continuing investigations or moving forward with prosecutions on federal level for some of these egregious offenses by the former governor.
Well, it's
no
not
longer the governor, but some of them were, everybody to date still remembers the release of a federal inmate for his massage. That was one of them.
Right.
But nothing was done on a federal level when their detainee was removed.
Well, that doesn't, and that's not to say that this isn't in their sights either. I had an interview a couple of weeks ago with the former Assistant Secretary for Interior Department, Tony Babauta.
Okay.
And I asked him about that. I mean, how close into the radar was the CNMI during all of this stuff that's gone down the past couple of years that he's been in office? And he said at least twice a year, there had been inquiry from that level, from a higher level of the federal government, into what federal programs that were that are cataloged in the CNMI that they had to look for possible, impact if something, was going to go down. And when Babauta says at least two times a year, a notice went out to all the federal agencies going, what do we got in the CNMI? Because things look, a little dicey over there. We need to know what we've got out there in the event that something does go down. And he's, 2 times a year to be on the radar at that level, 2 times a year more than you ever want yourself to be on that level.
Sure. We had our sitting congressman actually write a petition and a letter to I want to say it's Eric Holder, and specifically request that he and his department and everyone under him that would go all the way down to the prosecutors here in Limpiaco there, look into alleged allegations of corruption. And I believe that statements were made at a higher level than even Tony or Limpiaco here, that they were going to start looking into the gross misconduct.
From the Department of Justice, yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. And so everybody's still somewhat holding their breath on that to see what might move forward at that level or on that side. I mean, take, for example, we have a senator, the Zuzu, the one we talked about the last time, who's sitting who's being detained now on federal charges of the fruit bag smuggling. The federal prosecutors have leveled a new charge against him for having a cell phone in jail here. And everybody's kind of good that, they're watching it and they're prosecuting, but that's a cell phone in jail. And so some people are looking at that and saying, wow, you would move to push charges on a cell phone in jail, but you didn't move to push charges on taking a federal detainee out of a cell and transporting them somewhere else for who knows what at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it seems kind of odd, and people are trying to figure out what's going on, and they're holding, we are somewhat optimistic that maybe perhaps once the governor does return, the penal summons is served, and at a local level we address some of the concerns, that there are some federal authorities that might move forward with some of the other charges that were included in those 18 articles of impeachment, as well as maybe more information that might come out from the officers that are now perhaps cooperating with the prosecutors in this case.
It sounds like that was kind of the missing piece, was getting these witnesses to step forward. Maybe in this corrections case where they removed the masseuse, to go up to the governor's residence, they had some witnesses who testified to that, right? I mean, they had some. Maybe that's going to be all part of the bigger case.
That could be, yeah. And then as those law enforcement officers right now that may be cooperating with the prosecutors are in an intimate, dialogue with the prosecutors, perhaps more will come out. Things
or maybe, I mean,
what money related.
Sure, but what are the chances of nothing ever coming out of them making any deal of that, considering the higher, more important cases or charges that are against the governor?
I'm not sure. I think just having any of the allegations be addressed in court kind of sends a strong message to the community that no one's above the law, and that's kind of that was one of the more important steps towards kind of correcting the path the CNMI was on. We were kind of every year something worse would happen. We would progressively become more and more what appeared to be a really corrupt group of islands. And so now it's refreshing to see that kind of almost do a full 180 within just a span of, like you said, in a span of a couple weeks, a month here. Everything seems to be turning around for the better.
Well, and it was bound to happen. I'm a firm believer in this. This stuff will come out once it's, it has to play itself out. People who do bad things eventually will get bitten back. But I think the most important thing is the public's perception of their own government. And that to me seems to be one area that this new government, this new Enos administration, is probably doing its best to allay, is the people's fears that they're not getting screwed by their own government.
Correct, very much so. He's had really a hands-off approach to the case that's pending. I mean, that's going forward with these officers and the governor, which is what everybody expects him to have. Because of his intimate involvement with the last administration. He was his lieutenant governor. So it's just been, he's hands-off, just letting them do what they need to do, the law enforcement, the prosecutors, the federal government, anybody that's moving in on that. And
what's his approval ratings, though? I mean, how are people taken to him? Are they generally just speaking well of him?
Initially everybody was cautious, and everybody said, getting rid of detail is not going to change everything, and everybody knows that. And Enos was his lieutenant governor for quite some time, and they had business dealings for years back. They grew up together. They've been pretty close. But Enos has been handling himself really well, at least from the people that I've talked to. A lot of people are impressed by a few of the decisions he's made. He's left the DPS commissioner, James De Leon Guerrero, the one that's kind of trying to clean up that department in place, and given him full reign to do what he needs, including the termination of Ambrosio. That was, from what we understand and from what his press secretary said, that was James De Leon Guerrero's decision himself as commissioner. Decided to go ahead and terminate Ambrosio Orgomoro on return. And so that was a good move. And then you have other cabinet positions from the former administration that have been changed because they were somehow affiliated with some of the bad doings that were going on, or things of that nature. So those steps have kind of started to restore faith from the public in this new administration, and that was really important for him. He's making some new appointments of critical cabinet positions of people that the public feels can do some good for the CNMI. They have good credentials, they have good backgrounds, and they have a good head on their shoulders. And so we're all cautiously optimistic, but we're for the most part, the people seem to be willing to give Enos a little bit of breathing room, time to get his feet wet and get things established and move forward with rebuilding the CNMI's image. At least getting rid of the overbearing cloud of public corruption that we were dealing with for so long.
Okay, all right. Well, Glenn, it's always been great to talk to you and get a good insight firsthand from what's going on over there. I appreciate you being available to us all the time.
No problem at all. The next big thing might be, looks like April 22nd is when the officers that were all given arrest warrants or penal summons should all have
their day in court, at least sometime in court. Yeah.
Yeah, and set dates for future happenings on that front.
Okay.
And then if anything turns up on the governor's side, that would be the other next thing that might happen in regards to this.
All right. We'll look between the two of us. I'm sure we'll look at it, and then we'll call each other, whoever's got something to ask.
Most definitely.
All right, Glenn, good to talk to you. Thanks a lot, man.
Good talking to you. Take care.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye-bye.